Christin Joanna Hart show, and I'm sorry I'm late for the show. Obviously, I am a little bit late, and I'm sorry about that. So, Christin Joanna Hart, live from London, and I'm sorry I'm late. It's 2:10, and the ads must have gone ahead, and we're late for coming on. But here we are on, and my guest today is Max Spiers. So we're just going to bring him on straight away, people. And gosh, isn't it really weird about the differences in the times now with the United States? But that's how it is. Max, are you there? Oh, Max, are you there? Hopefully you're there.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
I was a little bit late, it seems, for the show because I missed the adverts for the studio, but we're connected up.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what's gone on, but never mind. We'll go ahead with the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's been happening with you this week? Because we had you on 2 weeks.
Well, it wasn't last week, it was the week before. Yeah. What's been happening with me? I've just been really studying and putting things together for the conference that's coming up that I'm going to be doing in Poland. So I'm sort of doing an overview to start writing a book, so that they can promote the book with me when I speak in Poland. So I've really been doing not much else apart from research and sort of like trying to go inside of myself and understand things that I didn't know before. Nothing too big to speak of, Christine.
Oh, right. Interesting. Well, this week my news is I had a meeting with the BBC, Panorama. They're doing.
Did they come to you? Did they come to you to interview you?
Yeah, they did. I met with a chap called Owen Phillips, and we had lunch at a fancy French restaurant in Kew, Ma Cuisine. And I basically told him my life story, the background, how I got into the media, how I ended up working for the News of the World via a boyfriend of mine called Phil Hall. And I basically dated him and got into journalism that way, ended up working for the News of the World. And so we talked about that. And basically, he wanted my background as a private investigator. He wanted to, he wants to do a panorama. They've done a lot on the phone hacking. He wants to do a panorama on the connection between the phone hacking and MI6. So that's how the intelligence services brought in the phone hacking via a chap called John Boyle, who I know, who works for Hacklight and some of the ex-MI6 investigations companies. So
Yeah.
that's going to be going ahead. But interestingly, he was kind of homing in on the Daily Mail and stuff I'd done for the Daily Mail because I worked for them for over a decade.
Yeah.
And also Mahmoud. And interestingly, Mahmoud is a top guy, worked for the News of the World, did investigations. And I was explaining to him how the News of the World and News Corps is a bit like a cult. And the lower journalists and even some of the editors kind of kept out of the higher levels. And that Mazza, is interesting that he's got court coming up and he's going on trial for perverting the course of justice with Tulisa, the pop singer, that they're throwing him to the wolves. They're intending on throwing Mazza Mahmoud to the wolves. And it's quite interesting because he's a bishop, he was pretty high up. And as Owen was saying, well, he'll probably throw the rest of them to the wolves. And he said, but nobody will listen to him. He'll just be disgruntled. Which
they use them as fall guys, don't they? They'll
Yeah.
pick one, especially if they haven't towed the line, and then they'll sort of throw them out, like you said, to the wolves. If because they have all this information. They have anybody who's in any of the higher positions, in any of the religious positions or any of the media positions. If you get to a high position, the elite will always have stuff on you, so that if you don't toe the line, then they can burn you whenever they want to. So that doesn't surprise me that they're doing that to him. I just wonder why him in particular, when there's so many others who've done done those things, why they've picked him.
Yeah, I don't know. It's quite interesting. This chap was saying to me, "Oh, do you know he's a psychopath and this kind of stuff." So they're really going to go to town and call him, mentally ill, and it's a
Then
bit.
maybe he has something to say. Then that's usually the way that it is. If they're trying to assassinate his character, then usually probably has something to say that's worthwhile hearing.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, yeah. Because I did find it shocking that he said, "Oh, he's a clinical psychopath." You do know that, don't you? And I thought, well, no. He was just really going along with what was going on at the newspaper, which was take people down and target people, target celebrities, target politicians for whatever reason. I would say that the news editor felt
So
like
he was
taking.
told to do that, though. Somebody had given him orders to do that, though, right?
Not really. He was his own. Well, the celebrities that he took down and the royals he took down, like he took down Sarah Ferguson. That
Yeah,
that all came from above. He was told to do that. He didn't think of that.
yeah,
Mostly he targeted his own race, which was Pakistani. He was always coming to me and saying, "Oh, let's do a Paki," and I
yeah,
used to feel quite confused. I didn't know what to say because he's Pakistani.
yeah,
And then one time when I was going to Sylvester Stallone's wedding with him.
yes.
He went as the sheikh, and I was supposed to be the sheikh's wife. And I turned up dressed in leopard print, a leopard print dress, leopard print pillbox hats. And he said, "Oh, go and change that." He said, "What? You look like a scummy Paki lover." And I'm like, "What?" I was really confused. And he said, "You strike me as being a Paki lover, are you?" And I thought, "What?" I thought it was kind of so odd him
That
saying that.
is interesting. They'll put placement in to like they've done that with Jewish people too, and black people. They'll use somebody from their own race to then subversively bring down their own race. It's happened like many times before. A lot of the high Jewish ones who run the entertainment industry and media in the US aren't in fact Jews in the same way that we think they are. In terms of the religion, they're like there's the Zionist connection to that, so they will be sort of subversively, sort of subtly bringing down Jews whilst claiming that they are them. So it's not unusual. I've sort of heard this before as well.
Oh, right. Interesting.
Hmm.
But it's interesting that they're going to burn him in that way. I suppose, do you think
What are the charges? What are they going to charge him for?
well, the charges are perverting the course of justice with Chalisa, the pop singer. He tried to, I think, oh, I can't really say much about it because it's
Yeah.
sub judice, something, something about drugs and cocaine and,
Okay.
yeah, setting her up, something like that. I think.
Okay. Okay.
So, gosh, I don't know. So that was going on. Also had an interesting thing about our last show. We were talking about Tom Hardy's mother and
Mm.
how I played tarot with her. She came up to me in Waitrose and said, "Oh, Tom's people had heard you doing a podcast about doing the tarot with me." And I thought, well, I don't do podcasts. So I said, "Oh, I don't do podcasts. Was it the radio?" And she said, "Oh, don't worry." She said, "It doesn't matter. I don't care, but Tom's upset." And I felt quite, I felt quite guilty because I thought, well, I didn't remember saying it. And I thought, well, have I said it? And
I think you said one sentence. I think you said one sentence saying that you had done a tarot reading or with his mum. I think that's all I remember.
oh, right,
Yeah.
right, interesting. Yeah, well, she's a fascinating woman. I met her in a book club, and she kind of took me under her wing and gave me loads of clothes, really beautiful silk dresses and beautiful designer jackets and designer shoes, and she's quite interesting. She's like intensely powerful, and I always thought she was the wings behind Tom,
Mm.
and yeah, she's very interesting. She's kind of like a Liz Taylor personality with like loads and loads of strength. And I said to her one day about Tom going into politics, and she said, "Oh, that's what he wants to do. So he's like not really aiming at acting. He's sort of, that's what he wants to do, like, heal the planet and sort of go into politics. But that's the route sometimes that people take, isn't it? Hollywood, and then
Well, they do. That's sort of set up that way because what they do is they get they'll put actors in in movies in positions of where the public sort of fall in love with them,
mm,
and then then it's much easier for people to then listen to them, or they feel much more comfortable listening to somebody that they feel has you know been in positions or roles where they've it's a manipulation technique. And I think like 20 years ago there were people talking about that was going to happen, that they were going to get actors and or musicians to then get into politics. That's why DiCaprio just won the Oscar, and I think he tweeted straight away afterwards something to do with uh, uh something to do with the planet or saving the planet. And I think that he's now an envoy, a peace envoy for I'm not sure which he's running for, but he's sort of a peace envoy. But they're doing it's a reversal again, because these guys who are, if they're saying they're a peace envoy, then they're not. They're not that at all. I mean, DiCaprio isn't really for the planet. In truth, he's the other way around. So I mean, I don't want to get personal about these people, but anyway, that for sure, it's much easier for people will fall and listen to actors and actresses and musicians if they're speaking about politics than they will do if they see Suits on television just speaking about it, because they feel like they already know them. Do you know what I'm saying?
I often thought why we here in London don't have the same thing going on, because we don't have charismatic leaders. We don't go for that, do we? I think it would work a lot better if we did start going down that route.
Yeah. It's just the intent of the person. Uh, they're obviously not. I mean, they're getting told what to do and what to say. They're not coming up with these ideas themselves. The actors that are doing it, they're not sitting down and thinking, okay, I want to go and do this. I don't think, and then going and doing it. There's somebody above pulling strings to put them in those positions. It's an orchestrated thing, and they know, like I said before, they know full well that the mass public are going to listen to DiCaprio 10,000 times more than they would listen to John Smith in a suit, who we don't know, who just looks like another clone of another guy we'd seen on the news the other day before. People are far more likely to listen to and follow somebody they've been watching on TV and movies for 20 years.
Mm. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as they're working for the good side. I mean, I don't know about DiCaprio.
Um,
Is he a good guy? He's certainly good looking.
um, I wouldn't want to call. I don't want to call on what he is and what he isn't. I don't think it's my position to do that. But I can say that if you win winning an Oscar anyway, if you win the Oscar statue is symbolic of Osiris. That's what Oscar is Osiris, and then the car at the end is like the serpent energy, the Kundalini energy. So when you win one of those, it means that you are giving like allegiance to a certain elite way of thinking, the elite way of thinking. You don't just get to win one, and as soon as you do, you sort of your position of power rises very quickly. So I'm being very careful as to not to say if someone's good or bad, because I don't know. But I'm just looking as an overview that generally, if you are in a position where you are in movies and television or entertainment, you're in that sort of on that sort of level, you're probably not working for the best interests of everybody. I don't know. What do you think, Christine?
I don't know. I thought it was interesting that everyone in the audience, when he got the award, was more or less bowing to him. He seemed like, somebody.
His name DiCaprio, it means Leo of Caprice. there's an island off Italy called Caprice, and he's tight with De Niro and Scorsese, and Scorsese was he was before Jim Carrey. He was one of the high priests of the Set, one of the Set churches, or Temple of Set, or Church of Satan in Hollywood. So De Niro is connected to the Roman Nero bloodline. Caprice, that is connected to. They're all Roman. They're all descendants from Roman bloodlines. This particular Roman bloodline, which didn't there. I mean, they aren't that. They're out for themselves, essentially. They're out for they're trying to maintain the master slave 3D reality under the guise of saying they're saving the planet. That crew, that particular group, are all they're descended from the Habsburg bloodline, which is probably one of the strongest bloodlines of the Holy Roman Empire. So if anyone wants to look up the Habsburgs, you'll find out that Scorsese, De Niro, DiCaprio, and a number of others are all connected to that line.
Oh. Are they Catholic?
Well, it depends what you think Catholic really is. Catholic is really like female deity worship. It's if you look at the first three letters of Catholic, it's cat, right? So it's worshipping of the dark Egyptian goddess. So Catholic in the sense of the way that there's layers of all the religions are layered. So what the masses are told what Catholicism is not really what Catholicism is. It's an Egyptian mystery school religion, in truth. So are they Catholic? Yes, but they know in the truest sense, in the sense of, in the core, the real sense of it. Not like I said, the masses get told the story of Mary and that story, and then as the higher up you go in the initiation, the more the truth you get told about what the modern day religions are about.
Oh, interesting. I was listening to somebody said about James Casbolt sharing about Odin on one of the basis thing. I was listening to it last night. I do think he got confused and went off on one, but it's interesting, the Odin thing. He said Odin was Jesus Christ. I don't know if that's true.
No, Odin was the father. So the son, Thor, would be Christ. Would be the conceptually Christ. So you've got it's the same principle with Osiris and Horus. It's like so Horus is Osiris reborn, and then Tammuz, which is the other son, and Christ would be the other. They're all the same. Thor is another one. They're the same, and they all have their opposing dark one, and and then the female deity. I guess for Christ would be Mary, and then for the female deity for Osiris and Horus would be Isis. For Tammuz, it would be Semiramis, and also Dionysus is also another sort of Christ figure. Interesting that we're doing this recording on the spring equinox, which is all those characters were betrayed and then reborn on this day. So up to this point, up until yesterday, there was betrayal, and then on the spring equinox is this sort of a rebirth and of all those characters, but they're all the same thing. And you could align it with the sun. It sort of all aligns with the sun as well. The way the sun goes around, like on this day now, it's the day with equal amount of hours of light and dark. So you have exactly 12 hours of light and exactly 12 hours of dark. And so the birth would be the winter solstice, and then the equinox would be the death, and then the rebirth. And then the summer solstice, which would be June 22nd, June 21st, June 22nd, would then be the ascension point, where then they leave and then ascend to a higher dimension. But definitely all these characters are the same based on the same one. There's been a lot of mixing and matching and messing around with it though. They sort of sometimes switch them up to make sure people don't get it too right. But essentially, yeah. So going back to that, no, Odin would be the father. Odin would be representative of like kind of God the Father, and then Thor would be his son in human form. I suppose.
Why is it all mixed up?
Why? Because if they've mixed it up on purpose because they don't want you to know exactly what is going on, because if we all knew exactly how these cycles work, this ties into life cycles and the 20-year cycles that we were talking about before, how everything loops and how time isn't well, time doesn't exist anyway, but in 3D it's cyclical, so it loops around and loops around every 20 years. If the masses understood how it actually worked, we'd be more in control. We'd have an understanding of how and when and where to do things. I'm not sure if I gave you that analogy before, but the analogy is that it's sort of like um, a perfect 3D video game, and the elite have got the rules and the book, and they've got all the codes and the cheats for the book, and then the mass or the goyim are then thrown out and left without anything, and don't know how the rules work of the game. Now, if we did, and if we knew that if you do certain things on certain times, and if we knew exactly how and when and where to do things, then we would be more empowered. And the whole point of this is to take away the power from the masses, so that the tiny elite can have everything that they want to have. For one person to have £1 billion, it means on the other side of the scale, you have an approximation of maybe 100,000 people have to live in poverty and suffering. So it has to balance out. You can't have everybody having that kind of money in 3D, because it's a balance. You understanding what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's interesting about I think we were talking last time about creativity. I mean, I used to have a fantastic imagination at school, and I thought I was going to write, and I have been published, yes, but not novels in the way. And I was watching that lovely Jean Le Carre spy thing that's on TV at the moment. It's called The Night Manager, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden I burst into tears, and my son said, "Oh, what are you crying for?" And because he was busy playing, he doesn't like that kind of thing. And he said, "What are you crying?" I said, I wanted to do that. I wanted to write like that. And he said, "You're just not good enough. You're not up to that, are you?" And it's like, I felt, I don't know, that something, I mean, almost like something's gone on, like some kind of creative energy is being grabbed out of somewhere. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
felt that.
Okay. Interesting. Like I saw an interview with Roseanne Barr, who's a very interesting character as well, because she's been through. She openly talks about going through Project Monarch, and she supported Kathy O'Brien when Kathy O'Brien first came out and started speaking about that all those years ago. I think in the late '90s, and then Ted Gunderson, the FBI, the head of the FBI. I think, I'm not sure which unit he was head of, but I know now that Gunderson wasn't good. I know a lot of people think that he is and was, but he wasn't.
Mm,
But Roseanne Barr was talking about, and this was on a mainstream interview, how, and it sort of ties back into the phone hacking thing that you were talking about as well,
mhm,
that they have the ability through, so the elites, I'm calling them the elites. The different factions
mhm,
throughout the world, they have their top hybrid sort of remote viewers and hybrid spies. So they don't have to hack your phone to get information.
mm.
And Roseanne was saying how she was able to that people were stealing her ideas from her head when she was asleep,
Right.
and so that can be that definitely can be done.
Mm.
And they have a combination of technology and psychic ability, so they've sort of rounded that one off, and they have that perfected.
That's
It
interesting.
Yeah.
I wrote a story based on my life and about the affair I had with the head of the real IRA. I won't say his name. And all of a sudden a book by Helen Fielding, who wrote Bridget Jones' Diary. She had a book come out. I can't remember the title of it, but it was all about an orphan who ended up working for the Sunday Times, who ended up having a love affair with the head of Al Qaeda. And it was like I went mad. I was so angry because my book was already doing the rounds, and I had an agent at the time, and I phoned up her agent and said, you know, she's stolen actually not even my idea, but it's my life story. And he then, Dylan Aitken, it was, Dylan Aitken then ran my agent and said to him, you know, he was cross with me, knew I worked for the News of the World. And then my agent, which is a guy from Peter Fraser's Dunlop, pulled the plug on me and pulled the plug on the book. So, yeah.
Sorry, I missed that. So they sort of cut you off. They stopped it, or how?
Yeah, they cut me off. I mean, basically, this guy, I won't say his name, but it was an agent from a top agent from Peter Fraser's Dunlop. He's now moved to United Agents. He was dealing with my book. He picked
Yeah.
it up, and it was written about, you know, this love affair I had with the head of the Real IRA.
Yes.
And he said, "Oh, it's great." And I was in Belfast working for the Sunday Times at the time, and he flew out from London to Dublin, and he met me. We had dinner, and he said, "Your book's fantastic." He said, "You're going to be a great thriller writer." He said, "You're excited?" He said, "Because I'm going to mentor you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm excited."
Yeah.
And so he worked with me for the following 6 years on this particular book, and I was quite excited about it. And then suddenly Bridget Jones, the Helen Fielding who wrote Bridget Jones' Diary, a book came out about a woman who worked for the Sunday Times. She used to be an orphan, and she had a love affair with the leader of Al Qaeda. And that's what the whole book was about. And it came out. I couldn't believe it when I read it. And I spoke to my agent,
Yeah.
and he said, "Oh, don't do anything about it. Don't do anything about it." And I said, "Oh, this is my book. There's no way that you're going to sell my book to a publisher when that's just come out." And I rang Gillian Aitken, who's her agent, and I said, "You know, she stole my ideas." And he said, "You can't say that because stories circulate." And I said, "I can because
Yes.
it's my actual life and I've lived it." So I
Yeah.
said, "Where did she get the story from?" And
Mm.
he said, "Well, she got it from someone in the private investigations industry." So I said,
Yeah.
"Well, that's the industry I come from, and
Yeah.
everybody knows my story." And I said, "I'm quite." And next thing, he rang my agent, and my agent dropped me, just cut me off. 6 years he worked on the book with me, putting in work, and he just dropped me. He
That
said,
sounds like they totally stole it from you. Yeah, it does sound like that.
"Mhm."
They have channelers. They have the best channelers working for them. And so I think we talked about before, they have to sort of tell you what they're doing. It's a way for them to get around karma. They have to tell it's sort of like a loophole. They have to tell you what they're doing before they do it. Otherwise, and then if you don't pick it up, then you know more for you. That means you. So they at least they can say they told you, and then you didn't do anything about it. But they have channelers where they will put out the information, and they'll put out people's stories through video games and through television and movies. But what they'll do in them is they will there is definitely a light side, if we're going to use that term, quote unquote light. There's a light side working from within the entertainment industry, which is counteracting the dark with their movies. So the dark will maybe put a movie out with a certain character in it, and then portray that character as negative and maybe cowardly or whatever. And then maybe another studio will put out a movie using a similar archetype in that movie, but then putting it in the correct way. So there's like a battle in the entertainment industry within Hollywood, because they know that, I mean, Hollywood comes from the word holy wood, and it's basically a magic wand. So that, and it's the wand of illusion. So that them, I think we talked about before, knowing that the subconscious then creates the physical reality around us. If you can have if you can get enough people to believe in a story that's put out, it doesn't matter if they think it's fantasy or not, because the conscious mind is picking up the outside, sort of like the surface story, and then the subconscious is picking up what the true message is of what they're trying to put out. And so there's countering going on. So one movie will come out and say 100 million people watch the movie, and then that's embedded into the subconscious, and then slowly those 100 million people who've watched the movie will, without knowing it, start manifesting the parts of the movie or bits and pieces, clips of the movie into real life. So to counter that, other studios will put a movie out which will switch it up and put it the other way around to try and sway. It's all about taking it's like I said, it's about using the masses to create, because they can't create, and there isn't any better. There's no other better way, apart from perhaps music, than movies to create the reality. This because so many people from it's a universal thing. It's the only thing that everybody from every country watches, or gets in, not watches, gets involved in. You know, a movie star, you can be said that, you know, whatever country will be known in a country that's 10,000 miles away, or known in 500 countries across the planet. So embedding that way is the most efficient way to create a false reality. I'm just trying to make a point, showing that within the studios there is also a light group that is trying to stop what's going on as well. Does that making sense to you?
Yeah, it's interesting. So have the rest of us had our creativity? I just felt when I was watching the show that I'd had my creativity. I don't if you mean the masses have had it. I felt that mine had been, but then I had Monarch done on me at my Vatican Run orphanage. So, you know, maybe it was taken away there, but I just felt almost like I was in disabled calipers, and someone, as I was watching it, and I got that feeling when I was watching that Seth MacFarlane guy, almost like, yeah, we've had it sort of taken.
Drained. There's they've sort of drained. I mean, but the thing is, you can always replenish it. I mean, it's you're the human beings that are here, that we have a self-sustained core. It's just they have, because of the mentality of this particular consciousness, this vampiric consciousness on this planet, they will drain and drain and drain and drain until the very last point, until there's almost nothing left. They don't want everyone to die. They don't, because they would have no way to create after that.
Mm.
So, but they do sort of take just just until the last drop, and then leave it, and then it replenishes itself. There has to be a period of time when we then regenerate again, and then they use it again. Because and I was having a conversation with a friend of mine as well, and I was thinking about the global population and how many people we're told are on the planet. And so we're told there's over, I think just over 7 billion people on the planet. And I've been questioning if that's a correct amount, if that really is the amount of people on the planet. Because you drive across America, and there's just so much space where there is literally nothing at all. And I think the population of America is something like 300 million, close to 300 million, 350, something like that, I think. And I just a thought, just been questioning really what the truth is about the actual global population. And there are certainly a number of empty vessels walking around on this planet who are just there as sort of chess pieces to move particular people who they want to manipulate into certain positions. And sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. My mind's just going off on a tangent. But the eyes always kind of give that away, sort of like dead, empty eyes. But they're, cloning is very real. And I don't know why people would think, that cloning wouldn't be real if you can clone a sheep, which they've said that you can clone a sheep, and that's been done, and it's the exact same principle. Why would people wouldn't think that humans are being cloned as well? Anyway, the like cloned beings don't have that core central creative ability. They're just there as like pawns or chess pieces, like I said, just to manipulate and move certain people around in certain spots. But creative energy, yeah. I mean, it seems to me like it's lacking at the moment. I mean, we're repeating the same thing over again. There's no the new music. Any of the new music that comes out, they're using loops and the same even riffs as they did 20, 30, 40 years ago. And any of the raw, real, like new creative music doesn't ever hit mainstream. It's
Yeah.
repressed because I think when human beings hear real raw creativity in music or in any of the artistic fields,
Mm.
it inspires them
Yeah.
to then go on and create themselves.
Mm. Mm.
And they definitely don't want that to happen. So the music industry and the entertainment industry has become more and more and more digitized. And digitized is analog and binary concepts, and that is non-creative. That's ritualistic and rituals are, there's nothing wrong with rituals because they can be very grounding, and we all do, everybody does rituals every day. I mean, everyone brushes their teeth, puts their socks on or whatever, and or has coffee, whatever. It's a ritual and it can be very grounding. But what ritual does do is stunt explosive creativity and fresh new ideas. It sort of stops it. And so there is a very concerted effort to stunt any raw creativity from people. And the perfect way to do that would be to introduce digitize everything. Because, like I said, it's analog and it's repetitive. It's repetitive rather than heart creation. So they want
Yeah.
to. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no, so yeah,
You know with me?
I'm getting a bell moment now because actually there's nothing on TV anymore.
Yes.
There's nothing on TV that has that explosive
Yeah.
heart-centered creativity. And watching that Le Carre thing, John Le Carre, of course, he's wrote his stuff decades ago. It's got it in it. I mean, literally, I was watching it and I felt myself be completely and utterly inspired. It literally tripped me off the settee because it was true creativity and you could feel it. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's just been sucked away. It's been sucked
Yes.
away, isn't it? And I haven't got access to that. I used to have it and I don't have it anymore. And I
And you
kind of feel
can have it
dead.
again. You
What?
can have it again.
How's that then?
How's that then? Yeah, it would be about reconnecting with self.
Mm,
Nothing ever really disappears. Nothing's ever really gone. It only has the illusion of being gone. There's never really any separation from anything to anyone. It's only the illusion of separation. So anything that you ever have once had, you can always have again. It's just you only think that you don't have it.
I was,
Um, I don't mean to get too esoteric with you on that one. It's so the question is, how would you get it back again?
yeah, is it linked with you were saying about
Well, writers, people get writer's block, don't they? And then
mm,
creative block when they're doing things, and they think, oh, I can't, I can't get any, I can't think of anything anymore. I can't paint anymore. I can't do it. And there could be a number of reasons for it. One could be that if you're going in the right direction. I mean, anybody who has um, high talent, that has the possibility or potential to change the world for the better, which essentially means inspiring others. If
mm,
you inspire others in a real way, in a real raw way, by showing that you are doing it, people get inspired very quickly. If somebody sees somebody doing something that is, um, you know, even if it's small, something that is something that is different, then that inspires people to do it. So they watch people, and they know, everybody is tracked from birth through sound, and they know, they have all the documents and all the they have full understanding of who we were before we were this person now. So all the people who've done things in other lives are known and tracked in this lifetime. So if so they that's where the targeted individual thing comes from. The people who are targeted are not randomly targeted. They're not like, okay, we're going to go through a book and we're going to phone book and pick this guy and we're going to target this guy. People who are targeted because they are a threat to the system that's put in place at the moment. So then to keep their life in chaos would be a way to stop them from being able to perhaps complete the mission or the reason that they came here in the first place. So if somebody who if somebody starts to get on the right track and starts to create and do the thing that they're supposed to do, then they will maybe step in using as all a number so many different ways that they can do to block. They can sort of inject different people into their lives that will take them off onto a tangent and away from what they're doing. They can use electronic equipment to do that. Anybody who starts to then if you continue and you start to thrive and get bigger that way, then they will then often offer deals so that they want you to sell out, and then offer you material things, so goods. And it's the ones that haven't sold out that are the biggest threat to this matrix system that is crumbling as we speak at the moment. And the ones that are trying to hold it together are sort of panicking at the moment because there isn't anything they can do about it coming apart. It's going to this system of control is going to come apart, but they want to be able to implement their new system before we realize that we've all been duped our whole lives. So there's a window of opportunity in between the collapsing of the old and the building and the implementation of the new, where we can go, hey, stop, this doesn't we don't need to continue this anymore. And literally the power is in all of ours hands. It's not theirs. That's why they're scared. They live in fear vibration. They live in fear vibration all the time. You don't need to control. If anybody who has the need to control others is in a fear state. If you have to control somebody else, you're in a fear state, and they essentially are in constantly. If you have to surveil somebody, if you have to put cameras up, then you're frightened of something, aren't you? It would seem if you're watching people all the time, it means you're scared, and the amount of cameras that are up everywhere is an indication of their increasing fear that they are going to lose the power that they've had for so many thousands of years. They don't want to give up the power they've had. They don't want to give up the lifestyles that they've had, incarnating over and over and over again into like lavish lives. So this window that's going to open, and it's sort of pretty close now because the old system is definitely collapsing. They want to try, like I said, implement their new system as fast as possible.
It's interesting. As you were saying that, I was thinking that the John Le Carre thing last night. Well, it's recurring. It's on the BBC. They're playing it. He covered those various higher aspects. Like there was one part where the gun dealer. There's an arms dealer in it called Richard Roper, and Roper says the key to he's talking to the good guy, the so-called good guy, and he's talking about being a man, and he said, do you feel that you're a man? First of all, he uses an interesting phrase as well, which is what Aquino used to me. He asks the good guy who's trying to spy on him for MI6, what do you want? And the good guy says, oh, I just want to get out of here. And he goes, no, what do you want? So he asks him that big question, and then he says to him on the beach, he says, what do you think makes a man? And the other guy says, oh, I don't really know. And he says, you know what, I when I first became a man was when I realized that the whole world was rotten. And then I realized I had to capitalize on the rotten. And I thought that was, that was very interesting. And they had another guy, they showed that MI6 being bad was letting, again, showing the establishment is rotten, was letting this arms dealer go ahead because he was dealing with people that were very powerful in the Arab countries and other countries. So they let him go ahead. And they came to this like little offshoot of MI6, this guy who was trying to do the good thing. And they said to him, you need to expose who your undercover man is. And he said, no, 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 I'm not going to do that. And then he was walking down the street and the man came up to him and he said, from the main body of MI6, he said, an uncle of yours could die and leave you a hell of a lot of money. And the guy said, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to, I know what you're saying. I'm going to ignore what you said. So there's the temptation come in. And I thought he's like painting a whole lot of really profound, profound.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
like it. I don't agree that the whole world is rotten, though. I have a huge belief in human beings, and I believe that human beings have the potential and to change all of this. It's only like a breath away from being able to change all of it. And that's going back to the thing that's why the surveillance, and that's why they're putting so much pressure on now to put in the new system, is because they know that it's only a thought away to change all of this. Thought created this system in the first place. Our minds were manipulated to create this false reality. So it would only take a thought to change the reality that we're in now.
You were saying about we're the Goyim and we don't have the handbook and the rules of the game and the
Yeah.
when and the where. I mean, where do we get that handbook from, and how do we know the when and the where? I mean,
Hold on one second.
Okay, sure.
I don't think there is a handbook per se like that. I think that all the information is already contained within the cells and in within, not DNA, because DNA is, everyone talks about DNA all the time and how important it is, and it is important, and it is like the construct of the physical body and the eye color and how we are and everything. But you can change your DNA. That you can change it by DNA can be changed through sound. But anyway, the handbook, well, I mean, the information is out there. If you look at the emerald tablets, Thoth's emerald tablets, all the information is already in there. Like the Babylonian mystery school religions, and the Greek mystery school religions, and the Egyptian mystery school religions, the information is out there, but it's also contained within. So I would suggest that people have a look at the Emerald Tablets. They're an incredible read, and it explains exactly sort of what's happened over the last 13,000 years, and how this sort of it's taken them. It shows the resilience of human beings, because they haven't been able to completely contain all of us. It's still 13,000 years later, and they still haven't been able to do it. And it's the human heart that's been able to keep them from being able to do it. So even without the information and even without the rule book, the human heart is still surviving and striving, and has the potential at any point to switch this over and change it over. It's just so to look for it. I mean,
It's in the Emerald Tablets.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's one place to look for it. Yeah, I mean, you can't just say it's in one spot. You can't say it's here, because there's lots of different. You can find information. It's sort of scattered around in all different places. Maybe you could watch a certain television program and find some information in there. Maybe then you could read another book and find some information there and piece it together. I did an exercise where I got like a huge piece of paper, and I just spent a week writing down. I put a central point, I put a circle in the center, and I wrote down ideas, and then I put sort of lines coming off, and then throughout that week I wrote down in bubbles coming off the center things that had happened to me, or things that I had seen, or movies that I'd seen, or people that had come into my life, or incidents that had happened, and I wrote them down. And then over that week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I looked, and then I started seeing a pattern forming, and I could start then seeing why that, why and how things happen. And you can sort of, you don't even have to go to any of the mystery school stuff. I mean, you can, and but if you don't have to, like the world around you is screaming the truth to you all the time. It's just whether or not you're picking it up. So a good way to do that would be to start logging interesting coincidences that happen to you throughout your daily life, and then sort of putting them down, and then tying them together. And then you sort of find out more about yourself. The more you know about your true self, because most of us are hiding from who we really are. Most of us carry a lot of shame around, and guilt for certain things that have happened in our lives. And the shame and the guilt are the lowest vibrational states you can be in, and they sort of block you from knowing who you really are. And so this whole system is being held together by making sure that people don't know who they really are. So finding out who you really are by looking at coincidences and synchronicities that happen in your life is a good start. Or go and look up, to put in and search for a mystery school information, and look that way. It's just, for me now, where I am, I spent so long looking externally for answers. I don't do that anymore. I do it by going inside of myself, or looking at just the subtleties of life that go on around me. Just maybe I'll pass somebody in the street and they will have a t-shirt with something written on it, and that will tie into a commercial that I'd seen 2 hours ago. So I'll log that, and then you can sort of bring pieces of the puzzle together. And that way I found that I learned 1,000 times more than I did sitting down reading, another 100 books.
It's interesting, as you were saying that. I remember when I first saw you, and then I think we spoke on Facebook PM for a little bit, and I was talking to Miles Johnson about you, and I said I get a weird feeling around him that I met him years ago when I was a kid, but I'm older than you, so I
That's
can't have done what?
that's interesting.
Yeah, but I did have it, and Mars said, you know the way he is. He said, "Oh, what is it?" And I said, "Well, I was sitting next to him, colouring in, and we were drawing these men with hoods, hooded men, and he was drawing the hooded men in black." And I said, "You're not allowed to do that. You got to do them in rainbow colours." And you kept colouring in black, really dark. And I said, "You're not allowed to do that because you're going to get in trouble." And they came and took you away. And it was weird when you were talking just now. I just got a really strong picture of you drawing in colouring black. And I got a really strong urge to say to you, "You're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say that. You've got to shut up."
It's interesting because I paint. I paint. I'm an artist, and I use colors. That's like, I'm colorblind, but I use a massive array of colors. Colors is sort of my thing. So I don't really draw in black and white. So that sort of is unusual, because all my artwork is extremely colorful.
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, because I couldn't have met you at the Crusade of Rescue, which is where I grew up, because you're that much
Younger.
yeah, you're younger.
Little
So
bit. Yeah.
it's weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. I like I said, I'm an artist, but I don't draw in black and white. That's for sure. I've always sort of been obsessed with colors.
Yeah,
And
no, you were a kid. Yeah, you were a
yeah,
kid. You were a little boy. You were a little boy, and I don't know if you were younger than me, but you were. I was sitting near you, and you were a kid, and
hmm
we were doing an exercise, but you were doing it wrong. Well, you were doing it right, but it meant
Huh.
that it meant that you were.
I was. How did you know that I was doing it wrong? Oh, how did you know? How did you know that? Or did somebody say that I was doing it, or somebody?
No, just by instinct. We were supposed
Okay.
to. We were supposed to. Oh, we're going to break, Max. So we're just going to
All
have
right.
3 minutes if you want to grab a coffee, and we'll come
Okay.
back to that.
All right.
I am the architect. I created the Matrix. I've been waiting for you.
Why am I here?
You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision, which has led you inexorably here.
You haven't answered my question.
The Matrix is older than you know. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equation.
Choice. The problem is choice.
Right here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Be here Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Private Eye Matrix Revealed with Monique Lasan.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Painter. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs to government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
On the go? Still want to listen? Don't have one of those fancy phones with too many buttons. Don't know what an app is? Or you don't even care? Well, we got you here at Revolution Radio. Now you can dial in 24/7 to listen to our shows. We have a number for Studio A and Studio B, and best of all, it's free. Don't forget, your carrier charges for your cell phone provider may apply, though, so check with your cell provider to make sure. So ready? Here you go. Get a pen. Here's the number. Studio A is 712-432-6958. And Studio B is 716-748-0112. Thank you very much for listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the number one listener-supported radio station in the world.
Enjoy your
extra big-ass fries.
You didn't give me no fries. I got an empty box.
Would you like another?
Extra big-ass fries.
I said I didn't get any.
Thank you. Your account has been charged. Your balance is 0. Please
What?
come back when you can afford to make a purchase.
No.
I'm sorry you're having
Come
trouble.
on. My kids
sorry
are
you're
starving.
Thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio. Here at Revolution Radio, we believe in freedom of ideas, freedom of speech, but above all, we believe in freedom of existence through self-reliance. This station is 100% listener-supported, and as a fundraising promotion, I have a kick-ass free gift for a $100 donation. 35,000 seeds. 25 years in the freezer. Long-term storable, 54 different varieties. So if food prices go crazy, the shit hits the fan, or if you just want to save tons of money every year by creating your own food like I do, grab our seed pack special. Just look for the banner on the homepage at freedomslips.com. Don't be a statistic. Don't be part of the problem. Be part of the solution. We need, as humans, to start taking care of ourselves and not depending on the megacorps to provide unhealthy, nasty food. Included in this package is also a DVD with 900 survival and off-grid living documents and the offline home canning how to do everything website all on the DVD. So when you're growing all that food, you know how to can it, store it, preserve it, etc. with all these documents. So thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I hope that you will pick up this package and start learning to be free. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps and freedom is one seed that needs to be planted.
What we do in life, it goes in eternity.
Hi there, it's Christin Joanna Hart, the Christin Joanna Hart Show, and we're back live from London. And today we've got Max Spiers with us. I hope you're joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show last week. And Max is back to speak more. Max, are you back with us?
I am. I'm right here.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, before we went to break, I was talking about, the images that came up. Yeah, no, I was sitting at a table somewhere as a kid. It seemed like one of these parties that I used to go to up to, I was, well, when did I get back into care?
What's the age difference between you and I, Christine?
I'm not going to say that on air.
Oh, okay. Because I'm just trying to think. Because I wasn't in the. So which country were you in? Was this in the UK?
Yeah, UK. I'm English.
I wasn't in the UK then.
Oh,
At
really?
that time, no.
You grew up in...
US.
Did you? You didn't grow up in England?
Well, back and forth, but from 4 till the primary years, like 4 to 8, I was in the US.
Huh, interesting.
It's in Los Angeles.
Huh. Yeah, no, it was just a weird thing that it came up that you were colouring in these hooded men in black. And I said, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. And then you just got taken away. And it was really strong. It was a really strong vision. And oddly, when you were speaking just now, I just got that same vision, you colouring in these we were all supposed to colour in, but you're supposed to colour in a certain way. You're supposed to colour in these men in black hoods with rainbow colours, and you weren't colouring. What?
Doesn't sound like me at all. At all.
Oh, you were just a kid. No, you were just.
No. When I was a kid, I've painted my whole life.
Yeah.
I paint. Yeah, I paint. I mean, I'm going to post up some of my paintings. After the show.
Yeah, but no, just to say, it was only a vision, so it's not. I wouldn't say it was true, but and maybe it's just kind of, what do you call it, metaphor or something. And no, you were colouring in the men with dark hoods with a black pencil, but they were evil, so it was right to put them in the dark hoods. And when you were talking just now, but you weren't allowed to do it, so the men came and lifted you up basically and took you away for, I don't know, maybe more programming. What?
That doesn't sound very nice.
No, it's horrible. I didn't like it. It was a horrible. And then I got it when you were talking just now. I got that vision really strongly. And it was odd, made me feel weird.
No, I have no memory of that myself.
No. And then weirdly, this morning, just as I was going off, like Miles asked to come on the show, and then everyone decided that it might be better if we just spoke. And I just got the feeling like two children in a house who find their parents, I don't know, evil doings and expose them to the cops. And the cops say, oh, well, instead of taking the children to safety, they tip off the parents, and then the parents punish the children. I just got that coming up really strongly again, that kind of children thing. It's weird. I don't know. I'll just meditate around it. I don't know what it is. But
yeah. Okay. Okay. No. I don't. I mean, I have very specific memories as a kid, but not that. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. No, it's just like children exposing evil, and ooh, you'll pay for it. That kind of warning thing almost. Maybe it's me. It's going on with me. That watch yourself, but.
Well, yeah, you are in a sort of a hot spot position, definitely. Good with the radio show that you have. So I'm certainly with the guests that you have on. I'm sure that you're watched. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. That. Well, I was talking about Lisa Williams' links. The Nazi links to witchcraft. She's been researching, and there appeared in the Daily Mail a spread on Himmler and witchcraft, which kind of pissed me off. But I know the Mail are watching me specifically because of the Panorama. Panorama have approached me to do an expose on the work, the investigations work I carried out for over a decade from the Mail, and so the Mail know about that because I spoke to a journalist who is a friend of mine who still works on the Mail. I spoke to him about that. And so I would say he knows I've got the show. So I would say he's probably tipped them off, and they're looking to see what I'm talking about.
Oh, sure, definitely. And, with that information as well, they have to release that, and that's all controlled release information because they have to release that out. They have to in one way or another. Sometimes you'll find in a tiny little part of a newspaper, you'll find maybe a few lines just telling the people a specific piece piece of information that they want to get out, and that's their way of getting around the karmically, telling you what they're doing. But I'm surprised about the Himmler stuff, that they're actually releasing that now. I'm surprised, especially in a newspaper that's read by millions of people. But maybe there's an agenda behind that too.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting. You were saying about the stilling ideas and how they have to tell you. And I was thinking about my agent. I just remembered his name, Robert Kirby. He basically said, "Oh well, ignore Helen Fielding's book. It might be the same story, but she's made it a comedy thing." And then after working with me 6 years after, I went to Dylan Aitken and said, "Well, it's my story. She's told." He then dropped me. So do you think that was a setup from the word go?
Could have been. It could have been. They could have been trying. They could have put you in a position where you were coming up with ideas and creating, and then used you for those, and then stolen them, and then shut you down. That's kind of very common. That goes on in Hollywood with scripts all the time.
Why do they do that? Why didn't they let me be creative? Why someone else?
Because they want the credit for themselves. I know that with a lot of it was surprising actually, with a lot of artists that are out there that we think are like very famous artists throughout the centuries, that they weren't actually painted by the artists that we think they were. That they have a group of artists who get together and put these masterpieces together, and then claim it for this one person, because then all the energy of the people who are looking at the piece of art is then thrown to this specific person, and this person may have no talent whatsoever, no artistic talent whatsoever, but then that energy is harvested to that person, and that person may have specific DNA that then is a honeybee, can then be given to the elite for them. So that goes with I also heard that the South Park creators, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, that they didn't actually create or do any of that stuff themselves either. That whole show was a government psyop in and of itself, and that they are getting credit for it because they then collect the energy that people give when they watch it, and then it's spread out and then given to the elites that way. I'm not exactly sure why and how that works, but I think it's to do with putting their people with specific DNA, and so that we throw our energy to them when we watch those shows. Whenever you watch a movie or a show and we know who's created it, you're giving your energy to that person. Because you're watching it, and then they can then harvest that energy and give it on to somebody else. If the person who genuinely created it doesn't have that in them, doesn't have that hive energy and which word to use, sort of collective energy DNA, then it wouldn't work. The whole system of harvesting energy wouldn't work. So they would put their placement people in, so that we give our energy to them. Like it goes with musicians as well, and the same principle with musicians.
Yeah. Wow, I know I'm going to go off after this show and feel quite angry about that. Actually, I noticed the Bridget Jones. If anyone's seen the Bridget Jones Diary, the message of the film is disgusting. I watched it with an ex-boyfriend, and we used to go to the movies all the time and really enjoy the movies and have a burger, go to the movies. And we went to watch Bridget Jones' Diary, and we both came out depressed. I mean, I needed to get to alcohol really, really quickly after watching it. And I was saying to a friend, it's a really bad message. And it's a message, grab a man, and that's the answer to your life. I mean, really grab a man.
Like you're not a hole, and like, definitely.
And it wasn't even love. It wasn't even, the people in it, there's no chemistry. It's not love. It's just kind of...
it's superficial and it's shallow, yes.
Yeah, superficial. I mean, it's like that movie, The Age of Adeline. That they've got the girl who can't grow old, she stays young, and she meets Harrison Ford when he's younger, and then he grows old and marries somebody, and she then hooks up with his son, and then the son takes her like years later, maybe 20, 30 years later. He dates her and then takes her home to meet dad, who's Harrison Ford, who fell in love with her earlier. And the film was so flat and boring, and there's no chemistry with Blake Lively and the actor. And then you go back, and then you're like, Harrison Ford and her have got chemistry, and you think, yes, it's going to be a real, like, Terminator 1 style passionate love story. And then it turns out that he says, oh, I want you. Harrison Ford says, oh, I want you for my son. I want you all have a good love with the son. And then she ends up curing herself, and she goes with the son, who she's got no chemistry with. And then the Harrison Ford figure says to his wife, who was afraid that she was a second choice, he says to her, oh, you've stayed with me. You've been committed to me. And I thought that was a really, really bad.
Yeah, okay. With movies, they're set up as giant rituals each movie, so they hope for chemistry in there, and they hope to get that because then they're going to get more people watching it. But essentially, it's the names of the people that are in the movie, and it's the age of the people in the movie, and also the other movies that they've done before. So they have to place. That you need the archetypes in specific places in specific movies to create. So if you think of each movie as maybe a ritual, a ceremonial, magical sort of spell in and of itself, and it's a bonus if there is chemistry there, because then more people will watch it. But the major mainstream movies are put there as for the characters there as archetypes to create and make a ritual. And the subconscious mind knows this when it watches it. The conscious mind watches it as the fake storyline that it is. And the subconscious mind picks up and understands that it is a ritual in and of itself.
I think as well they had that pushing the agenda of marry someone that you don't love. They seem to do that a lot. Like, just marry someone. And even if the marriage is flat, it's a good thing.
Well, yeah, anything to keep people in sadness, for sure. Yeah,
it's like they don't want us to hunt out our true soul partners. It's like they want us to marry someone stable.
They definitely don't want you to get together with the person you're supposed to be with. Yeah, no, they don't want that, because then that creates a true union and true heart love and true heart connection, and then that creates a third energy which is infinitely powerful, and that's the last thing that they want anyone to have. So yeah, definitely, people are thrown into your life who are sort of false. Who you're not supposed to be with. There's a lot of trickery going on as well, so they can make it. This ties in with past lives as well, so they can put somebody in your life that you were perhaps with before, but then give and that you were in love with before, and then give the features, maybe the eyes or the nose or a mannerism in this life, and so you're drawn to them, but in fact it's not the right person, but then you're drawn to them for that reason. You get into a relationship or a marriage or whatever, and it's sour, but you sort of still stay there because there's something pulling you there, but you don't understand why, and that causes distress and destruction and sadness, and then that will then spread out across everywhere, and because it's the microcosm, and then that spreads to the macro, and so then the rest of the world also resonates that sadness and chaos.
Yeah, it's definitely Hollywood putting that out, because you could feel even the sexual chemistry between Harrison Ford and Blake Lively, and it's almost like made me feel bad as well. It almost dashed my heart to the floor, because you're like, first of all, you get your hopes up. You're like, yes, leave your wife and go off with her and let her dump Mr. Boring and, have this intense sexuality. And it's like crash to the floor. He stays with the wife. You're left with kind of almost feeling guilty for wanting that sexuality, to almost like a pervert or something. Like, oh yeah, pervert, you wanted that, but hey, this is the godly thing. This is the good thing. And then he had Harrison Ford looking at the children and the child's. We've had our lovely children and focused on their lives, and the child smiles up at the father, and it's like, good family. Don't be thinking you're dirty fucking sex here, watchers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I understand what you're saying, and I've also noticed in a lot of sitcoms, American sitcoms, you'll have the male will often be like perhaps like overweight or unattractive, and then his wife will be sort of attractive, and it sort of doesn't fit, and they're sort of putting it out there so that men will sort of be striving or driving towards a certain mindset of a woman or a certain type of woman, and so they're always
exactly.
and then that they will probably never get. So it's sort of constantly striving to get something that they don't even know why they want it, but they've been imprinted with these. Especially sitcoms are some of the most powerful ones there are. Seinfeld and Friends obviously came out and ran parallel with each other, and Seinfeld was is a Kabbalistic. I mean, I like both the shows, but Seinfeld is a Kabbalistic Zionist. I mean, there's so much symbolism in there; it's unbelievable. And Richards, I think the guy who plays Kramer, is openly a 33rd degree Mason, and Seinfeld is a 33rd degree Mason, and they're all like Kabbalistic magicians. And then Friends was maybe the Aryan sort of version of it. Not version of that show, but it was that you had the Jewish one and then you had the white sort of Aryan show, and they were running sort of together. And their Friends is probably the most embedded, symbolic, inverted television show that's ever been. I mean, it's jam-packed full of it's full of triggers all the time. It's every episode I've ever watched, there is a monarch trigger or an inverted message covered up by a loving message or pretending loving message and then inverting the message. These people are masters at inverting the truth, making what is light seem to be dark. That's what their thing is. That's what they do. So especially with sitcoms, because you come back each week watching the same thing, and you sort of start to feel like you're friends with the people, and that goes back to the beginning again. What you were saying about politics and movie stars, because the people feel like they know the person, and they're far more willing to follow and listen to somebody they know, who they think they know, than they are a suit. From regular, the MP.
Mm-hmm. Why you were saying earlier about the gods and why is there an Odin and Greek gods and the Christian God of Jesus? Is that because the overall gods sent out different gods over all the different nations?
I'll tell you something interesting. There's the Odinist Society, which is it's based in London, the Odinist Society, and that it sort of teaches the Nordic concepts, but it was taken over. I think about 100 years ago, and it's called the Odinist Society. But if you reverse the word Odinist, you get sin I do. So they have once again inverted something that was originally quite beautiful, because the Nordic concepts of Midgard and the layers and the levels is really quite accurate and in my opinion and quite beautiful, and they've inverted it and flipped it upside down again. So what was your question?
Why doesn't everybody, I mean, why have we got Jesus, which is why are they all separate, like Greek and Nordic? Is that because we all got confused, or because the overall God sent out different gods to all different nations?
Different cycles of time. So different cycles
Oh,
of
I
time.
see.
Yeah, and different representations to different people. They at different time cycles.
Why are they all betrayed then?
It's okay. So this storyline, this last 2,000 year storyline, it's just a cycle connected to the sun cycle. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know the exact of why that happened. I don't know why. I can't answer that question.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I know. Go ahead.
As you were talking, I was thinking about the story, the one that was taken from me, the Helen Fielding one, where she wrote what I was writing, and actually in the version I was writing, it had that soulmate love, and in her version, it didn't have anything like that. There's definitely an agenda to, and I think I covered that in the show with Eve Lorgan, the Dark Side of Cupid and the Love Bite, Alien
Evie's
Love Bite.
great. Yeah, she's a lovely lady.
Yeah, they don't want the twin souls to. I mean, I was told years ago by a psychic called Mike Baker that I would meet my twin soul, and the initial was J, and I still still haven't met them. And he was a really good psychic. I mean, everything else came true, but that didn't. And I think there's an agenda to sort of. To put people in your path. And even with Hollywood, there's no movies or stories that are going out. They sell these dead marriages, and
Well,
then
when you're in Hollywood and when you've got a position like that, none of your relationships are going to be you've sold out, so none of your relationships are going to be love. They don't want that. They want you to be with somebody who suits the agenda for the ritual that's being played out.
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to, I won't say her name again, but regarding Tom Hardy, he married a girl, and I didn't feel psychically because I did a psychic reading on him, and I felt that she didn't match him because his mother was like a queen, and he would be more suited with a queen female, somebody like Charlize Theron, somebody high dominance, and that would be a true soulmate match. So that's interesting that he got the little woman, the sort of the Stepford kind of thing, like they have in the area where I live. That it's playing out a role of the woman is less dominant, the man is the sort of breadwinner.
Yes, they're doing that. Yeah, they're doing that's part of the inversion thing that's going on. Yeah.
Why is that then?
Why are they doing that? Remember we went over that in the other show. So they're trying to, if you want to take over a planet or you want to take over the heart, then you take out the strong males first. So you take out the strength of the male first, okay? So then the first way to do that would be to emasculate the alpha males. So that you have all the alpha males on the planet, and who are then protecting the core of the planet. And the most efficient way to take out, rather than, because they've realized hands-on fighting causes too much. It's not as efficient as if you do it subversively, if you do it under the surface. So by emasculating the any alpha male, then you're taking away the raw power of the planet. And it goes back to a guest you had on, Aquino. It's the same principle there. It's even in his name. So it begins with alpha and ends in omega, and then you have queen in the center. So beginning and end, and then queen in the center, which is emasculating the male.
Oh, interesting. So by emasculating the male, they tie them down with these women who are.
It's bonding. It's essentially bonding. It's bonding male energy. Yeah. So the divine male would protect the divine female, but if the divine male is emasculated, it is then unable to protect properly the divine female. And then you start having the collapse of the union of the male and the female, and then they're inverting it and twisting sexuality and making confusing sexuality, and then so
I remember we did that on the last show. But how does it if you tell men that they have to get a certain type of wife, which is your low dominance, sort of sweeping up the hearth, yet very arrogant kind of females? Why does that bond the male then?
Why does that what?
How does that bond the male? Does it?
I don't think that particularly does.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that part particularly does. That's repressing the female. So that's just that. Okay, so the female is the divine female is being attacked, and the divine male is being attacked. They're two individual, different, separate things. The divine female is being attacked in a different way. I'm just addressing the attack on the divine male. We could do a whole show on that and how the divine female has been repressed for 2,000 years and how they've done that and why they've done that.
Yeah.
But that's a different thing. I'm quite happy to do a show on that if you want to.
Maybe it's that if men are given a message to love in a certain way, or the certain type of women they're supposed to love, then they don't really reach as high as they're supposed to reach. They don't really risk all.
It's like the 50s, the post World War II concept of having like the male that comes back home from work and the female is at home cooking and sort of slaving away. That concept was destroyed in the 60s, and there was there was an awakening because there was a mass sort of like infusion of higher vibrational consciousness that came down after the Second World War because so many were killed. When you kill that many en masse in such a violent way, then the universe reacts by sending in mass high vibrational beings, and so then that countered the 50s sort of repressive male to female energy in the home and changed that up a little bit.
It's still here. It's in my village. Strong, very, very strong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. It's certainly less than it was in the 50s. That's for sure. They with like the feminist movements that sort of shifted things, but a lot of these are all sort of like setups anyway. They're setups anyway to keep, because it's important for them to make sure to keep everybody confused. They especially wanted to do was certainly over the last well, it's just a slightly different topic, but over the last 2,000 years, they built all these structures, all these cathedrals and other structures on divine female energy points to repress the nurturing mother energy of the earth, because the earth is essentially female, because it's creative force. If you put something in the ground of the earth, it grows. If you put a seed in the earth, it grows. Why does it grow? Because it gives life. So it's feminine. The planet is female. So the males on the planet, or the alpha males on the planet, are supposed to be here to guard and protect the divine female planet, and the offspring of the planet are the divine females on the planet, who are which would be nurturing energy and kind energy and understanding and empathetic. And so by destroying and emasculating the males, then that allows the females to then be attacked, and inverting the sexuality of the females in the same principle and in the same way that it was being done to the males.
Yeah, interesting. I hope I get that.
Yeah, go ahead.
My area is that 50s, that charge of that 50s thing of don't risk passion, don't risk anything for passion. Even the movies of Nicholas Sparks, if you watch them, they have the passionate the passionate meeting and the twin souls meeting, and then one of them dies always.
Yeah, they make these movies that then sort of like they build you up, and then they sort of crush you, don't they? And then they hurt the heart that way. I think we talked about before, like it's so important where the big movie theaters are built, because then they remember they have all the maps and all the information where all the important ley lines are, where the female energy points are, and so you build, if you built a huge cinema complex on a very sensitive energy ley line point, and then you played movies that then invoked heart feeling sadness and heart hurt feelings in the movies, then that is then all filtered down through into the ley line of the planet, and then damages the planet and keeps the planet repressed. Keeps the female energy planet repressed. They definitely don't want the nurturing female energy to be there, and by maintaining the strength of the male, then the male is able to protect the divine female.
Interesting. I want to touch on something as well about we had some guests on, I think it was last week, and we were discussing astral travel, and I invited someone on who studied the Bible, and he was like, oh, no, you mustn't astrally travel. And the second half of the show got cut, actually. I don't know why. Something to do with Revolution Radio. So I wanted to get your opinion just in the last half hour about astral travel. I'll tell you really quickly about someone, about the experience I had. Someone approached me on Facebook with a blank profile and said they were Alexander, but they split the word, so it's Alex and then Ander. And basically they said to me, do you want to time travel with us? There's a group of us going off in a team going on a mission. And I thought I was kind of drawn to their energy. And normally if it's no picture, I'm like, I just click off, decline. But I paused over the decline button and I thought, hang on, they've got an interesting energy. Yes. And so when he just said really quickly, just a really tight message, did I want to go time traveling? There's a group of them. And then he put my date of birth, which I thought's odd because I don't really put it out there. It is. And I said, okay, even though I thought, okay, I don't believe this person. And, I had it in my head, well, a bit of a nutbag. And they said that they knew Dan Boland, the guy who's done a basis, Sergeant Dan Boland, who does the spy ops and stuff. Have you heard him?
No, I haven't.
Oh, right. But he's someone who worked for the CIA and he did these black ops. And anyway, I laid down, went to sleep. And as I laid down, I found like I was sort of drinking something and it felt like cough mixture. And then there was a group, seemed like a group watching me. And they said, they give that to them to make sure the programming sticks. And then I found myself, what?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. I mean, I know about that.
Do you?
Yes. I've had it happen to me before, astrally. Yes. Yeah, that almost identical to that.
Oh, really? The cough mixture?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
It reinforces the thought. It reinforces what you've got to be careful with drinking anything astrally. You can get yourself into a lot of trouble. But go on. I'm interested.
Yeah, and basically, I mean, I've been hypnotized before, and it was the same effect as if I was being hypnotized. I got sucked down my timeline. First of all, I had a flash in of me touching the settee where I grew up. And then I was sucked down to younger. I was remembering my granddad. And I just got sucked down my timeline bit by bit. And then I got taken to my mother giving birth. And she was crying. So I was trying to watch her crying because it was a revelation to me because I've always hated her guts and thought, she just dumped me straight away. And she was crying. So I was trying to watch her crying and I started crying. And then I came back to my body on the bed and I was crying like in reality, brushing my tears away. And then I went back again and one of the group watching said, can she stay with her mother a while? And the girl said, no, she can't. We've got to find out what happens with the baby. And then they took me and they followed the baby. And one of the nuns picked up the baby and said, this is pure blood, and took the baby off, and the baby went through the monarch system of cages and chopped up puppies and that kind of thing. And then they took me, this Alexander took me, they were dressed like in silver suits, and then they put me in a silver suit and they were trying to slap me awake. And then they took me and stripped me down. So I was a skeleton. And then they said, that's your skeleton, Christin Joanna Hart. They said, tell us about your previous life. So I told them about being a Nazi and then sucked down. And I think one was a Native American. Then there was something in Egypt. And then there was a kind of a black thing that shut down all of us. And then I sort of appeared back on the bed. And I went back to this guy the next morning. I was like, whoa, I thought, who the hell are you, because that was awesome. The only person that's ever done that to me before is Colonel Michael Aquino, who can just get you whenever he wants, pull you out of your body, take you wherever he feels like doing. So I thought
he can't always don't hand your power over that quickly.
Okay.
that. But anyway, yes.
He's got that power. So I was interested in who this Alexander is, because that's quite some power that he can do that. And it is quite some power. So I thought,
When did this happen? This happened a week ago?
Yeah, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, something recent. And anyway, I talked about it on the show. We were just debating, but I was talking to someone else and they didn't have any answers for me. And then because this guy said he knew Dan Boland, even though I didn't believe him, I thought, well, I'll ask Dan Boland. So I emailed, like on Skype, I emailed Dan Boland and I told him what happened. And he said, that sounds like Alexander. Oh, I won't say the guy's second name, but he knew the guy's second name and he knew he lived in LA. And he said, that sounds like him. He's one of my team leaders. And so I told him about what happened in the silver suit. And he said, yeah. He said, I was there. He said, that guy, he says he's one of my people. And I said, he's sent me a picture of himself. He's a young guy with red hair. And he goes, yeah, that's him. And he said, oh, you've come out with us. He said, we go out often to go to CERN to try and destroy Alice. And they said that to me. They said, we're going to kill Alice. Because I said, well, I think Alice is me. And he goes, no, sorry for triggering you. But it did really trigger me. And he said, we're trying. But I think all they were trying to do was look down my timeline.
To see what you had been on, what you were going to do?
Yeah, it seemed like they were nosing on me. Even though the guy said, oh, we'll go out again. He's never taken me out again.
So you responded? Did you respond to when they wrote to you?
When who wrote to me?
So when the fake profile wrote to you, did you respond to them?
Yeah, I did. I said, yeah, I'm up. He said, I need your permission for you to come out on this exercise with us. So I said, I give my permission.
Okay, so and that was the only correspondence you had with the person?
Yeah, and then they took me off.
Okay. I mean, I'd just some, a word of warning. I'd be very careful to give your permission to anybody that you don't know who they are, or you don't know who their face is, or you haven't got to know, because they could do anything. They could do anything as soon as you give permission. It's a contract. It's a verbal, energetic contract. So then you leave yourself vulnerable to all kinds of things. But it sounds like they were looking to see what was going on with you. Sounds a little bit like a version of I forget the name of it. There's a I can't remember the name of it. It's a way of looking into at the birth, when a child is born. There's technology that can be used that can then look into the child and the child's DNA and find out with like 99% accuracy what the life of the child is going to be, and what they're going to do at certain ages, at certain points, at who they're going to meet. And so if it's a specific consciousness that's incarnated into a body that's has the potential to do harm to this structured system that's here, then they will then become a targeted individual. So it looks like that they were checking in and seeing where you were going to go and what you were going to do in the upcoming years.
Why was it linked with Dan Boland? I mean, he admitted it was.
I don't know Dan Boland, and I don't know your connection with Dan Boland.
Right, yeah. I don't really have one.
Have you never spoken to him?
Yeah, I interviewed him for the show. He made me cry, actually. He came up with Open Your Heart Chakra, and I started crying. And he said he was doing some healing on me. But now he says he's going out in these missions in the astral to take down parts of CERN. And one of his teams approached me, and he said he knew them, and he said that's to come with him to take down Alice. But it just seemed like they were looking at me. Do you know what I mean? And I thought, maybe, how does he know this guy, Alex? How does he actually know him? Okay, he's one of his team, but this guy might be anything, really.
Yeah. Who know? I mean, that's it's. You got to be very careful with that. I would be very careful about giving your power over to a faceless Facebook profile. I think it's can be very dangerous, Christine. So I'd be careful with that, because like I said, as soon as you give your permission, they could have done anything.
Like what?
They could have done anything. They could have implanted you. They could have messed around with things that are upcoming for you. They could have looked and seen that maybe you were going on a certain direction that didn't benefit because everyone has their own agenda. There are different agendas going on. It seems to me though that there's like everybody at the top is linking together now, and they've sort of all the infighting is stopped, and they've even like the Nazi consciousness and the Zion consciousness is sort of like uniting because they both agreeing on this new world order system they want to put into place. But whatever agenda this faceless Facebook profile had might not have been in your best interests. So I'm just saying be careful with that.
Can you, if you've given permission, you can revoke it though, right?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I would do it out loud. I would do it out loud when you're alone and revoke it. And then they can't. I'm always doing that. I'm always throwing people out of my energy field. People are always trying to link and attach. And I do it probably daily now. And I have certain words that I've worked out that I can say that work. And I can literally hear a pop where the link where they've put into me just like flies out. I have to do it all the time, especially if you're vulnerable being on the radio and speaking about any of these things. All these topics are things that are hush topics, and and this isn't controlled release. I'm speaking to you in sort of stream of consciousness, so there's no control in it. So that's not what they like. So then they'll attempt to throw links into me all the time, and you and others who are on the show. So it's always important for me, before I do a radio show, before I do a speak on stage, I will always do a specific thing to protect myself and sort of bless myself, put earth green energy over myself so that I can't be harmed and that nothing can link into me, because they're always trying to link to pull energy from you. They're always trying to pull energy. They're always desperate for energy.
Yeah, I got it. I got it after the show I did with you. I got one troll who's called Tree Seer, who sent me masses and masses and masses of negative energy. Massive. She went all over the place. Don't speak about yourself. Don't speak about yourself. Don't speak about yourself.
Really?
Which has affected me. What?
I said, really?
Yeah.
So she wrote this to you personally, or was on?
It was on the comment section.
Okay.
But she just went all over, and then someone came along. I don't know, it was backed them up. Yeah, she's old, and pray for her and all that, crap.
Oh, don't. Yeah, you need to cover yourself with that and just like throw them out. Because so this is how it happens. As soon as they can invoke an emotional reaction within you, it doesn't really. Preferably, they like a sad, like a low vibration or a sad reaction. They can get you to feel sad or feel sorry for them or cry or feel shame or guilt. These are the emotions that carry sort of an intense energy surge. So they like those, but it doesn't really matter. It can be any extreme energy. It can be extreme happiness. That's going to also be energy that they can harvest. As soon as they can make you have an emotional reaction, then a link can be put into you. So then perhaps like after this show, I'll get rid of all the links that have come to me, probably because they're in the airway, they're in the unseen energy.
So what do they do? I noticed someone as well. It was an old show, and they left something to me, and it was something about how I'm bad, and because I said I was angry with my neighbor, I felt like keying their car because they swore at me. It's up to me. I'm honest. I got the energy out. Whatever. Yeah. I'm not a bad person. And they shared that they spoke directly at me. They always write my name as well first, Christine, and then they say, and it's always cloaked in love and light at the end. And it was something like, you've got
be careful with love and light too. That's also an inversion. That's not good.
And it was like the guy.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was like the guy saying, "Oh, pray for her. She's old." Yeah. Well, right, you asshole. So also, I like being old. I'm proud of it. What?
Switch the letters around on the word Nam. I don't want to insult anybody here, and no disrespect to anybody who does that or uses that. I was just being observant, and if you just switch the letters around of the word Namaste, you've got Am Satan in it. That's an anagram of Am Satan.
I never like people that use that. But the link, I found it because, when they leave stuff like that, if you get a good person, and there's loads of good persons that, come up on YouTube, when they leave a comment near, it kind of busts the energy.
Yes.
One guy, even though one guy who was really, really negative, but he ended up talking in a real way to me. As soon as he spoke to me in a real way and said, "Oh, I'm sorry," I felt like this knife being pulled out of my stomach.
Yeah. Yes, and that goes back to the same countering thing with the movies that we were talking about earlier. There's the quote unquote light movement that's also in the entertainment industry that puts these movies out to counter the lie movies that they put out. They'll put certain archetypes and characters in there to make you think that it's this person or that person, and then another movie studio will put out another movie that will counter that. So it's like the knife goes in, then the knife's pulled out. So in the same principle.
Huh? It's interesting. Really interesting.
Yeah, it's dark. It's the same old story of dark and light that we're trying to get over.
Spiritual warfare.
A little bit boring now. We're like, we've been doing it for long enough. Black and white, up and down, left and right. Isn't it a bit old? Can't we go into something a bit more complex than that? Duality is a little bit yesterday, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It is.
Yeah. I think so. I think we've done it enough times. Haven't we learned the lessons that, like, one is a reflection of the other? One is a perfect reflection of the other one, and we're trying to learn and understand and experience it here in 3D, so we can understand what that is and what it is to feel like to have that experience.
Yeah.
So you haven't had any more contact with those have you blocked them now, or are you still?
No, I can't, because Miles likes the drama, so Miles leaves it on. He even said to me when I swore at somebody, "Christine, watch yourself." It reminded me of, like, we were talking about wrestling the other way. It reminded me of when Triple H, he got Roman Reigns, and he really emaciated his face. Like, wasn't real wrestling. He was like smacking his face. Then he got his nose and rubbed it around. There was blood everywhere, and it was horrific. And then this week, Reigns came up and attacked Triple H, but he didn't go for his face. He was just throwing him around, and you could tell how angry he was. And there was somebody there who was going, "Oh, let's call the police, because this is out of order what he's done." And I just thought, God, they attack, but when you respond in a like way, there's always somebody that goes, "Oh, you're the bad guy,"
Of course.
Yeah,
of course. I mean, totally, and it's the same thing, isn't it? I mean, it's the same dark and light story, but the thing is, they like the elite are quite, I'm just using that word. They want to be able to stay in this frequency and keep it as a master slave reality, and keep it themselves as having abundance, and have the masses having, really nothing.
And we're supposed to think as well. I mean, I look around and see how sad people are, and we're supposed to be okay with our empty lives, and we're supposed to it's okay because we're not starving, it's okay because we're not really, really, really suffering, but we're having these empty, spiritless lives. I mean, we've got to start connecting up. We've got to start walking where there's trees. We've got to start talking to the Father. I mean, I talk to the Father constantly, and I use something called ACTS, which A for adoration, C for confession, what you've done, T for thanksgiving, and S for supplication, and just do that every day, and refresh and pray. We're coming to the end of the show. I just want to say, so someone's making me laugh in the text box. I just want to say thanks very much to Max Spiers, and you can find Max on Facebook. Spiers is spelled Spiers.
That's right.
Max is on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Christin Joanna Hart, and my book is out there, Alien Experiences, if you want to buy it off Amazon. If you want to donate to keep the show on the road, my PayPal account is warnernews@sky.com. That's Warner as in Warner Brothers News, NEWS @sky.com. I'm also on GoFundMe. Max, you haven't got a website sorted out yet, have you?
Actually, it's just going up at the moment. So it will be probably ready in the next day or two. And so when it is, I will let you know. Or if when I'm on next, I will let you know what it is.
Oh, fantastic. Great. Because I believe you're going to give consultations, aren't you?
At the moment, I'm really focusing on the work that I'm doing for Poland and the conferences that I've got coming up, because I've got quite a few of them. So,
do you want to share with the listeners, just while we've got a few minutes, what's coming up?
Okay, so there's a conference in Warsaw in Poland, and that's on April the 22nd, and that will be it's really sort of based on targeted individuals, really, and the kind of modern day phenomena of targeted individuals, and we wanted to get it in sort of the Northern European area, because that that area hasn't been, they seem to be more open and ready to accept and understand that these sort of topics than perhaps some of the Western countries. And so that, and there's another one on May the 28th in Manchester. Chris Turner is putting together. But I'll have all that on Facebook and
on your Facebook. Oh, brilliant. Well, thanks for being a fantastic guest, Max, and
thank you very much.
Have a brilliant week.
You too.
And thanks for the listeners. God bless.